requisite breakaway try and 171 metres. Eddie Batty, he does, doesn't he?
Kieran Dixon, I'm going to say it, he's deceptively slow. Because James Donaldson didn't lose any ground on him in that chase back, he just never caught him up. And his legs, in cartoons when the legs go really fast before they start then running off at super high speed.
Yeah, it's Roadrunner, yeah.
Yeah. That's Kieran Dixon's legs are faster than he is. I don't understand.
He must have a very short stride, because you're right, because his legs are really quick, but doesn't.
There's no player in Super League who has more revs per minute or revs per second or whatever of their legs than him. That's for certain. Anyway, continue with the stats.
No. I completely. Maybe it's exacerbated on the artificial pitch. I don't know. Anyway, Eddie Batty with 10 marker tackles and 123 metres, and Matty G with 105 metres.
So the first fan review came in from Dr. Bob Phillips, who was following from afar. He said, with the indomitable spirit of a half-marathon running Elvis, Leeds saw out a nervous second half in London to take Ash to the top of the try scorers board. I think he wanted me to say Ash. And press home our march to the 2020 Triple Crown, in brackets, all 3 Challenge Cups. Listening was almost more anxious than waiting for the potential fatal allergic reaction at lunchtime. Happily, both game and stem cells were successfully landed.
Rich Wilkinson says, thank fuck that season is over. It's not over yet. Another solid performance from Leeds to put relegation to bed in September. Improvements in attitude and the playing roster have been made. We look better since Agar took over! However, he's not the answer. We need a quality coach and quality halves to not be in the same situation next season.
Tom Andrews said, always liked Leeds, never wanted them to go down. # keep Leeds up.
And last words on this one from a London fan, Dr. Hideous says, Broncos got off to a sloppy start by kicking straight out from the kickoff, and then shortly afterwards a penalty didn't go to touch. But the real problem was defence. When it was good, it was very, very good, but then it would just go away. In attack, the performance was the usual high standard, but you need consistently good attack and defence to do well, and our defence has only managed to be consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, so
interesting.
Who starred in this one? Was it all Leeds players that starred?
It feels like it, doesn't it? Jack Walker, you've got to pick out as your individual. I've only seen the tries. I wasn't in London this weekend, but from what you can see, it felt like Leeds could score however they wanted to score. So if it was Siu Menafanai up the middle or Jack Walker breaking from deep or whatever, it seemed like they were just steps above where London are, even though actually on the table there's not much between them. You can see that Leeds have really taken a step forward this past couple of months, and you've got to give Agar some credit for that, and it's not often you'll say that.
Well, the first half of the season, London and Leeds had equally poor goal line defences. With London, it was partly because of the quality of the player, less so the quality of the coaching, I would argue. With Leeds, I'm not sure where it was. But second half of the season, Leeds have sorted that problem out quite dramatically, and London haven't. That Seyu Manafini try. Come on. That's not Super League defending, unfortunately, guys, I'm afraid.
No, it's not. And it's disappointing from a point of view of they knew what they had to do. Hull KR had already kind of challenged them, by winning away. And it just feels like, and this is where I think the overall tone of we're fearing for London now is that it was an opportunity and they just never seemed like they were going to get over the top of Leeds. And it mattered to Leeds as well, so I completely understand why their performance was so strong in this one. It wasn't a meaningless fixture by any means, but disappointing for London overall, I'd say.
couple of sin bins as well for London in the last 10 minutes didn't probably help their cause, but by that time the game was definitely out of hand and gone, so maybe some frustration there. Any highlight reel moments for you?
I like Jack Walker's second try. That seemed to be good movement of the ball. But, they just... Yeah.
Was it Jack Walker's first try where Brett Ferris, had about 60 tackle balls? How could they not tackle Brett Ferris? I don't understand.
I think that says more about London than it does about Brett Ferris, really.
Yeah, unfortunately so.
But yeah, it's disappointing because it was a massive match for them, and they couldn't make it happen.
Me and Dom were having a conversation about London in the morning on Sunday, because Dom's a Leeds fan, but he was kind of saying, in a weird way, he obviously wanted Leeds to win, but he didn't want them to win by a big margin because he didn't want them to hurt London's chances down the line too much, because he wanted London to stay up. My worry, if London do stay up, is their squad, because they're losing some of their key pivotal players. As far as we're aware, Alex Walker's going. We don't know that Ryan Morgan's going to be staying around. Jordan Abdul, we know, is leaving. James Cunningham, is strongly rumoured to be leaving. We're not sure about Jay Pitts. Luke Yates, we're almost certain, is going to be a Salford player next year. So, on that basis, the side they can put together for next year would be, you would suspect, less competitive than the side they've put together this year. Now, we all expected them to be not competitive this year, so I don't want to take anything away from what the coaches could produce out of what they find, but Luke Gateses aren't hanging around waiting to be found by lower level Super League clubs every year, are they? We haven't seen a Luke Gates for a few years. I think he's been an outstanding find for them, for example. And at the moment, I feel like the Broncos under 16s are in stronger health than the Broncos under 19s. So, again, that youth development, which is going great down there, isn't ready to jump into a Super League side yet. So I actually think the Championship might be a better place for them next season, as long as they can afford to stay full time, develop those systems still, and reload and come again with a few surprise packages in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, it needn't be a disaster if they can keep hold of Danny Ward, and he can mould some players, kind of find some diamonds in the rough, which they've certainly done, as you've said. But yeah, it wouldn't feel like a disaster for London, where I think for a couple of teams in the other Super League teams, it would be a disaster.
Huddersfield and
Wakefield particularly. Yeah.
Okay. Not
talking
much
of
else
Wakefield
from this one.
No, nothing. There's nothing else to say really.
Okay, the last game then we will slip towards is Sunday afternoon. Wakefield hosted the Wigan Warriors in a very changeable weather conditions. It absolutely threw it down for most of the first half. It was very nice and sunny for most of the second half. But at half time it was 12-all. Wigan ran out eventual winners 24-16, but not without some controversy. 5,805 were there. It felt like there was a lot of Wigan fans there, so it was a very good atmosphere. I ended up accidentally stood right in front of the drum, which maybe enhanced the atmosphere that I experienced. Scott Mikalauskas was the man with the whistle, the man under the scrutiny. In terms of the stats, because everyone knows referees are the most important people on the pitch in terms of how a result is decided. In terms of the stats have Wigan on top. 220 metres more at 1.3 metres per carry better, with 7 breaks to 1 from Wigan, and a 3.3% better team tackle success rate. So stats say Wigan deserved to win, and Wigan did win. Individually, Liam Marshall with 3 tries, 8 tackle busts, 244 metres and 4 clean breaks. Zach Hardacre, 10 tackle busts, 167 metres. George Williams, 1 try assist and 127 metres. And Liam Farrell, 45 tackles, 12 of which were marker tackles. For Wakefield, a very strong performance from Kalepi Tanganoa, who actually, I said Luke Yates don't grow on trees. This guy's a great find for the Trinity side. 159 metres from him. Craig Kopchak with 136 metres, Kyle Wood with 42 tackles, and Reece Lynn with 112 metres.
Yeah, so Fatboy Rob has become a little bit more true to form on this one. His fan view is cheater's going to cheat.
Tom Andrews said, well-deserved Wigan victory. Ignore all the people saying the ref won you it. I'm sure it was well earned. Again, very well done. Do you know, I like the way that he's having a positive approach to the way he's looking at these things, rather than just thank fuck that went Hull KR's way.
Yeah. I'm detecting an undercurrent. And last one on this one, Jim K says, crucial win for Wigan in a difficult away fixture. Marshall must have covered some metres, and his third try was worth the entrance fee alone. Well, he didn't cover quite enough metres, but anyway. Second spot is in our hands now. I don't think we'll surrender it in the remaining 2 rounds. Full credit to Adrian Lamb for turning this season around after some dark days early on.
Yeah, I saw Jen and her family at the game, so it was really nice to see those guys again. Jen's daughter got a picture with Liam Marshall, so maybe she was the lucky charm that led him on the way to a hat-trick. Anyone who watches a Wigan-related show, so most of you probably don't watch it, on Facebook, and also it's available as a podcast, Wigan Fan TV, that I sometimes contribute to. We talked a lot about the wingers at Wigan last week, and Marshall, I've said, has vastly improved his play over the last month. Maybe his return to fitness a little bit. Certainly his speed and zip was back for this one. And since Bevan French has come in, he's risen to the challenge of having competition for places again after the 2 injuries to Manfredi and Davies that are devastating to Wigan earlier in the season. It took away the competition for places in what was the strongest position group probably in the league, Wigan's wingers, and French has come in and brought that back. So well done to Liam Marshall for rising to that challenge. In terms of the game,
are we going to talk about how he cheated?
We're going to talk about it in a sec. In terms of the game, Wakefield lost a couple of players to injuries. Middle of the first half, Bill Tupu came off with what looked like an arm injury, but it turns out I think it was a pec injury. So that's a shame for him. He's had a bit of an injury damaged season. We all think he's an absolutely brilliant player. He wasn't really in any sort of rampaging form in this game, but I
think he struggled to come back from the injury in the first place, hasn't he? So it's probably...
He was starting to look threatening, but not bulldozing. Do you know what I mean? And they lost one of their forwards, who, if I look at the team sheet, I'll be able to say who it was. It must have been Craig... No, it was Chris Anakin. Chris Anakin they lost. He got injured in a tackle where he lost the ball very late in the first half. So credit to them for sticking with Wigan in those circumstances with being 2 men down, because I think that's a tough ask for a lower level team against a higher level team, which is what was happening there. So credit to them for that, even though the stats say Wigan were the team on top. For Wakey, I'd say the star players, Tanganoa, who started in the second row and moved out to the centres when Bill Tupu went off. He was brilliant. He was a threat from deep, weirdly, which I never... He's got more pace than you'd think. He's a powerful guy. He's got a lot of pace. He's a skillful guy. He did have a very key part in one of Wakefield's tries. I think there was a forward pass from him, but it was marginal and it went their way. And it was finished off in the end by Jacob Miller. So... I'll talk a little bit more about that try, I think, in the highlight moments, but he played very well. I thought Chris Green was really good, very competitive. They were noticeably more intense when he was on the pitch, I would say, with Wakefield. I think if they'd brought him in a month earlier, they probably wouldn't be having these worries, because I think he was their most intense forward. I'd say well done to him. For Wigan, the star man, Liam Marshall, was fantastic in this game. He made a couple of decent tackles. He made some very, very good takes. They kicked to him quite a lot, did Wakefield. They wasn't quite sure why they were doing that, because it was Ryan Hampshire up against him. So it was not exactly strength on weakness, I suppose. It was kind of middle on middle. But it was he was brilliant. He took 1 or 2 takes in the second half were absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, he was the benefit of a loose ball that kind of... I think Wakefield are claiming came off Dan Sargentson. From my point of view, if it came off Sargentson, it went backwards, but I actually think it came off Tupu. But anyway, it didn't go forwards off Dan Sargentson from what I saw.